I get this question asked a lot, that Yuvika, how did you convince your Indian parents to move out? Moreover, when I moved out, I did not move out to another city to either get a job or get married. I moved out from Faridabad to Delhi, just 40 minutes away. And if you're somebody who is now interested to have your own space, your own freedom to do things your way, while having a loving and beautiful relationship with your parents, then this video is exactly for you. And I wish somebody had made a video like this when I was finding my own answers. I was sort of struggling to get into a state of harmony with my parents while moving out. And this is 3 years of experience that I'll try to get in one video. So this is what I'm going to share in this video. First, when and why did it go from a great idea in back of my mind to actually creating it? What were my motivations? And it was actually, unfortunately, led by something quite traumatic, which was losing my best friend. And how did I convince my Indian parents while having harmony with them? I know there are many people who have done that while fighting with their parents, having conflict, etc. And I totally feel you guys. My intention was to have best of the both worlds, which was an incredible relationship with my parents and moving out. And how did I manifest my desired dream flatmate and my dream apartment? And it actually manifested bit by bit. Like everything that I asked for was there, in fact even more. I did not move out from my parents' place to Bali. That's a whole different chapter altogether. I actually moved out from my parents' place in Faridabad to Delhi. So how it started, my parents are incredible people. We've always had a great bond. We would sit with each other every morning, ideate and talk about worldly ideas and whatnot at the same time. I think I started observing this in myself when I was 19. This inner desire to be out there in the world everywhere, like go from places to places, travel, experience different cultures, meet different people, learn different things. And I wasn't allowed to do that when I was 19. In fact, I remember this actually happened when I was in school, I think 10th class. Yeah, I remember asking my father, like, when will I be allowed to travel alone? And he said, when you will be 21. And of course, I started traveling earlier. Somehow I found ecosystems where I was safe and my parents would see that as a trustworthy space. So I would just go and travel because of those ecosystems. And what happened was, I went to US to study masters after I completed my chartered accountancy, which took like 6 years. So my plan was always that I'll do my CA and after that I'll go to US to do my masters. And while I was there, that was the first time technically I was staying out of home in my own space while I had a flatmate for long term. And it wasn't that long. I think I was there for like 4 months and then I dropped out. But one thing I learned while I was there, that there are a lot of things in our Indian culture which are fabulous, but then there are also things that do not contribute to anybody, and it's just a mess, you know. It's just there as a downward pull, you know, so that everybody stays the same way, thinks the same way. And also because some parts of India are not that safe, we overthink on our safety, especially being a woman. So we have to overthink on what are we wearing, what time are we leaving, what time are we coming back. That was my experience for sure. But while I was in US, it was pretty safe, the area that I was in. And I realized that one major part of my brain that used to constantly be thinking to keep myself protected and also take care of the fact that my parents don't get angry with my choices, that was completely useless and off. And I felt like there was so much space then in my mind to then use that for my creative endeavors and stuff. Also, I realized that when you live alone, you can just wear whatever and then roam around. Something as simple as that can be really significant, at least it was for me. So I got the inspiration from there that it's the most natural thing to go back to India and then get my own space. But then when I went back to India, I started searching for apartments. And I had some sort of friction with my parents. My parents were like, what? Why are you doing this? This is so useless. Right then, COVID happened and the pandemic. So it didn't make sense for me to move to another place just to be inside a room, right? And especially at those times, we really needed each other's support. So I parked that thought. Now, when the COVID thingy lifted, I started initiating the conversation with my parents again. So they had a few objections that seemed very valid, and they are valid. Everything is valid. Desire of something, lack of something, everything is valid, right? The question is, what are you choosing? So my parents thought that, first of all, why? Like, do you know any person around you who has done that? And I genuinely did not know a single person who was doing that. And my point of discussion with them was always that imagine that you're born in a family, you're living with a family, and then as a woman, you go to another family and you live with them. Where are you? Where's your space? Where's your space for self-discovery? Not that I was not discovering myself at my parents' place. I was. Like, I've been on this journey since 12 years, training after training after training. So I was already doing that. But while I was in US, I also realized that actual physical space also gives you a lot of mental and physical and energetic space, right? Which is really valuable. And we always had this on and off, on and off, on and off thing while I was working on changing my inner concept. Right, I was changing my inner concept. I was aligning myself to that version of me who's living in a beautiful apartment in Delhi. I had very tight budget because I was really struggling in my career. Like, I was so lost, and making a decision to move out at that stage was even scarier because I didn't have a good enough foundation to be like, oh, I'm fine on my own, because I was not. I was struggling. So the things that I started doing was I started getting clear in my mind of what kind of apartment do I want, what kind of experience do I want in that apartment, and also everybody associated with that apartment, how would they be, like my landlord, if we have any household help, etc. And moreover, I started doing one more thing, which was I started getting very clear of the kind of person I wanted to share my space with, because that plays a huge role in determining your experience in that place and the quality of life that you have in that place. Even if you think that, oh no, it doesn't matter as much, I'll have my life, she will or he will have their own life, everything affects you, which is in your environment, right? And hence it is said that keep cleansing your environment always. So while I was doing that, what I used to do was I would sit on my bed every evening, put a timer for 10 minutes, sit and visualize the kind of place that I am living in. And a time came, I did multiple things to shift my subconscious, and I actually attracted my dream apartment. That's the apartment that I had seen 1 year back when I had just initiated looking for apartments. And the reason why I did not take 1 year back, because I did not really like the vibe of the person who was living there, right? So hence I also took that lesson 1 year back, that I also got to be mindful of the person I'll share the space with, right? So hence that was one added intention in my manifestation visualization processes, right? I found the ideal apartment and the ideal flatmate, and all I had to do was tell my parents bye-bye, which was so freaky. It was scary. I actually forgot to mention what made me really commit to this entire process. I'm going to answer that first, then I'm going to move to how did I convince my parents, because what really moved my ass plays a pivotal role in my strength to convince my parents. After COVID, my best friend, my soulmate, my soul sister, she passed away in a car accident. And that really shook me to a level that I went numb for a while. I was really confused. What is the meaning of life? What are we doing? What is happening? And one major question that I had, or realization I had, was we used to spend hours and hours talking about our life problems, which included some aspects of our families and what is bothering us, what is triggering us. I realized that when you die, your stories go with you. There's nothing left. So if the stories are anyway gonna go, why not let them go beforehand while we are alive? And that was my biggest realization. And I remember few days after that, I was sitting with my dad and I was crying and telling him about this, and he knew that she was such an amazing friend of mine. And I told him that one thing I've learned from this whole experience, that I'm never gonna ask you for things, I'm gonna do them. I'm never gonna ask for permission, because life can slip by like that. And my father said something that changed it all for me. He said, "Beta, this is not the first time you're telling me this." And that's when I realized it was never about my parents not being on board with my choices, with my unconventional choices. It was always me who was stopping myself, It was just convenient to point fingers at them that they are not on board. So what? Then they haven't caged you or chained you to a chair, right? And that's when I realized my own hypocrisy. And that was such a big reflection of my own blockages that I had to take accountability. I had to take responsibility of my life. I had to really process my blockages and just choose. In that moment, I chose. I'm going to have my space. Why? Because I'm going to have my space. Now, it may sound too simple to you, and it is. Life is a series of choices. Whether you're making them to pull yourself back, to keep yourself caged, limited, or you are making them to put yourself in expanded horizons. Life is just a series of choices. And when you really commit to a choice, no matter what limitation you have, what blockage you have, it will never be bigger than your choice. So that puts you in an empowering state. So when you ask me how did you convince yourself, how did you commit to it? By choosing. When you really choose from your heart, you just make the choice and the choice manifests itself. Things then start coming to you. And that's exactly after that I found this place. And then it was time to tell my parents. So I went to them. I remember having this conversation and I told them very openly that I myself don't know if I'm going to be there for long term, short term. I have no freaking idea. It's so new to me that even I am going to discover. So it could be few months more. Now I moved out, and that's when the real internal struggle started. That struggle led to crazy transformations. So I think I would want to make another video on the beauty of living alone. I would really want to go in depths of it, because not only I healed the deepest of the deepest of the deepest of the deepest layers of myself, also a lot of anxiety, so many blockages, lack of self-esteem. Oh God, I had such bad self-esteem at that time. Even when an investor is calling me saying that, hey, I have a friend who can help you with your talk show, I did not say yes. I did not go, because I had already told myself that, oh, I'm not good enough. Why would that person help me? I used to forget that. I had so much anxiety that even if somebody would ring the bell, I would feel so scared that somebody is going to come and take me away from this space. Crazy level of anxiety. Like when my parents would call, I would see mummy or papa written on my, like I would see their name on my phone. I would go crazy with the anxiety. Like I would have panic attacks and whatnot. So that was the state I was in. And in a way, it's a blessing, because I was able to then take all my space. I was not answerable to anybody. What I was doing, what I wasn't doing, nobody was really worrying about me. So I had the space to fully take charge of my life, start learning stuff. You know, I believe everybody should live on their own at least once, because then not only they learn a lot about themselves, who they are, what do they value, what do they like, what do they don't like, what sort of, how do they move in the space. Oh my God, this was the most beautiful discovery for me. Apparently every evening I would turn on the fairy lights, which I loved putting with my flatmate. She was amazing. I would just dance every evening. I loved my terrace. It was junk when I moved in, and it was gorgeous. Like within a month, it was gorgeous. I would spend time there, walk, go to the park. I started learning what my values were. That was the best thing that could happen to me. When you know what your true values are, life will never be the same. You will never be an asshole to yourself. And I say this with utmost love, because a lot of times we're just living blindly. We don't know who we are. We don't know what's happening inside. We don't know what our core values are. I started learning that I loved ease. I loved effortlessness. I loved joy. I loved impact. That is exactly when I fell in love with my value of impact. I would do these sessions for people and whatnot, and I was like, I used to be high after every session. I fell in love with myself in a completely different way. I really don't think so any other environment can get you to that place. I even mean places like ashrams and stuff. I have been there, I've done a lot of healing stuff, so I'm aware of different environments, versus you being in your space and you following a certain steps that I'm going to list here. This is exactly what I did. Over and over and over and over and over and over again, and hence the cleaning and healing process and the deconditioning process just kept getting deeper and deeper, to an extent that life is breezy now. And also to an extent that whenever any unconsciousness, any trigger happens, boom, it's on the surface and then it's released. Comes on the surface, it's released. Comes on the surface and it's released. And life is delicious. That life is fucking delicious. I love it. So I wouldn't say that I didn't have conflict with my parents. I had a lot of conflicts when I moved out. I would say for first 3 months. Now, I took charge after 3 months of my relationship with my parents, because it was just too boring to wait for them and us to be on the same page somehow. Life does not happen somehow. You got to set intentions. You got to work for it, right? I remember that one moment, it was just so clear with me. What I wanted was, I wanted harmony with my parents. That's it. And that word spoke to me so loudly that I got super present with it. Harmony, harmony, harmony. And I saw a magical shift between us. When I would visit them, we have a guest, and I heard my father proudly say, "Hamari beti Delhi rehti hai. My daughter lives in Delhi." And then I am in another social space, and they're proudly sharing, "Oh yeah, our daughter lives in Delhi." And I was like, when did that happen? I need to catch up. Who did this? I did not do this, because I stopped having such conversations, because I knew they're not leading us anywhere. You know, it was just creating more conflict. And another big factor to make this happen was my own internal ownership of the fact that I chose this for myself. Now, I've heard a lot of people's stories after I moved out who were also living away from their parents, but then there was this constant conflict happening, and it adds peace to nobody's life, right? It sucks peace out of your life. And one common thing I found in all of those stories was they themselves felt guilty of taking that step. They themselves felt like it wasn't necessary. They're just being a brat for choosing for themselves. And that's again a conditioning of a culture. When you want to choose fully for yourself that doesn't align with the majority of the people, then you're wrong, you're stupid, you're weird. And that's part of a lot of cultures, right? That's just a tribe mentality that we are sort of wired, right? We're all wired for tribe mentality. Like if you step out of a tribe, not only it's a danger for your life, it's a danger for our life. So we have to stay together. It comes from the early Stone Ages, right? So yes, I started accepting the fact that I am choosing something that's not supposed to be normal. And the more I immerse myself in it, the more not only I got comfortable with the fact that for now my parents are not on board while I'm in Delhi and I'm having this life, I also started showing up more and more and more in other areas of my life. Started experimenting more. I started taking more chances in business. You know, I started showing up more in life. Like I would go to these social events, start talking about my work. I made events happen at my place, like at my terrace. That was junk at one point. I did events there. I led events there. All of this happened because one thing led to another, like compounded returns. So if you think your desire to move out is a very simple one-step desire, no. It's literally going to put you into a momentum of transformation, and a lot of times it looks like sadness, it looks ugly, it's not comfortable. That is what growth is sometimes. But then it also looks like you discovering who you are, your habits. You literally take more charge of your life, your habits. Like my habits completely transformed. My body transformed. I would start waking up at 6 a.m., then 5 a.m., go for a run and whatnot. Boom. Full charge of my life. Did that happen overnight? Not at all. I was in Delhi for 2 years, and who I was in the beginning and in the end, fully fucking transformed person. And then, of course, in my mid of the second year, I went to Europe for 2 months. I manifested that again. I was invited to attend an event, fully sponsored. I didn't have to pay for anything. I was in Europe for 2 months, and I just knew intuitively that when I'm back in Delhi, I would know that it's time to leave again. If you want me to make a video on how I left Delhi, a decision that my parents had finally come on terms, to becoming a digital nomad and starting with Australia, and now I'm in Bali since more than around 1 year. then let me know in the comments. I will definitely make a detailed video. But it was easier to make that happen because I had practiced multiple times taking ownership of my choices, even if they did not align with my parents' thought process or just my family culture. That also included becoming a mindset shifting coach, because I'm a chartered accountant. My father is a chartered accountant, and it just made full sense to do chartered accountancy work. But instead, I hosted and produced my talk show. After that, I became a coach. So it just seemed erratic. But when you're living life from your heart, intuitively, your intuition does not see things as erratic. Your intuition is literally allowing you to flow, just like water flows, right? Like when water jumps off a rock and then is also calm going ahead, it's not erratic, it's flowing, right? So if you feel, if you are judging yourself for even desiring something quite out of your family's culture, and maybe your parents are stricter, and you're feeling guilty, like how can I leave my parents, but they're old, they took care of me, etc., then first of all start by not judging yourself, please. Because you are not only judging yourself, you're also judging your younger self, who only knew one thing, that was to dream unconditionally, fully, openly, dream openly, right? You're also judging your younger self. And that's not kind, man. That's not kind. Don't judge yourself for having desires like that. And usually the judgment comes because you feel guilty because your environment is not supporting you, which is fully acceptable, fully understandable, actually. And also get clear with what you want. I do not want you to approach your parents or anybody before you have embodied what you want. Stop discussing your ideas with people who are not on the same page, who have not walked the same path. So, for example, somebody who's way too conventional, way too traditional, will live and die in their parents' place, which is not wrong. If you go and open your heart with them, they'll be like, bro, what the fuck? Like, don't do that. Just like be where you are. What's wrong with what you already have? Be grateful, right? Don't discuss your plans with people who have completely different mindset altogether. Discuss it with people who have lived your life. They might be able to give you more advices, more suggestions on how to do this, go through this process, through this journey in a way that it is actually it soothes you, like it's an easy journey, right? Why do we have to struggle? So how to get clear of what you want? Easiest way, start writing stuff. I started writing stuff like, I am living in my own apartment in a posh place in Delhi with this much rent. The rent that I had decided was not at all high, yet I manifested the place in, it was a newly renovated place, so gorgeous, beautiful interiors, and in a posh place in Delhi. With that budget. So anything that you want is possible till the time you're actually embodying that. Be specific, start getting specific. Like if the specificity is triggering you, let that be. Anything that's fun goes on your paper. So start like enjoying the energy of living in your space. What's happening, what's the color of your wall, like what does your room feel like. I used to write things like marble and well lit. Like I was so specific about how much light is coming in, and I actually did manifest a place which was super well lit. I wanted greenery around, so in my entire colony fully green. I had a lot of plants at my home because my flatmate loved plants, which was really amazing. I wanted an extra room, and I literally manifested a 3-bedroom flatmate while 2 people lived. And things like it's a very safe area, I can be myself. That's exactly what was the case. And I don't think I remember more specifics, but these were the major ones, right? And I also got very specific about my flatmate. We're having a good time, we're ideating, we're discussing. Do you need to do that with a flatmate? Not at all. I was that specific that this is the experience I want with my flatmate. We are joking around, we're growing together, we are sharing our learnings, and that's exactly what we did for 2 years. Oh my god, a blessing. Like, she is an incredible person. She does not like me calling her a flatmate, which is totally justifiable. We very quickly became friends, like friends, like that beautiful emotional connection. When she's going through stuff, I bring her cake to just like lift her up. When I create something amazing in my business, she would celebrate that with me. Beautiful relationship, to an extent that I became really good friends with her parents as well. Like, we had an emotional bond by the end. So get super clear. Third, I want you to visualize every day. Visualize only those parts that make you feel good, right? Don't force on yourself things that, oh, I think I should manifest this while it is feeling too contracted or too stiff. Don't engage in that energy. Just get into the whole vibe through something fun, right? It could be uh, just visualizing what would the gate of your apartment would look like, the door, right? If you're into doors, I am into terraces, so I would also visualize a terrace, and that's exactly what I manifested, right? So visualize, bring those emotions up, actually smile. This is one thing I have observed in my sessions, in my workshops, and I always pause people and put this cue in. When you're visualizing, you're also feeling great. That means you would be smiling, your shoulders will be open, you will feel light and expansive. If you're not feeling any of that, and if your body language is not communicating that to you, that just means that you're not tapping into the feeling, or you're just a bit, you're still in that conditioning of not expressing yourself fully. All of it is fine, it's part of the process, right? So while you're doing this alone, just feel good, smile. In fact, put that feeling of joy in your visual, whatever you're visualizing, right? Start with really easy things to visualize, and then eventually your creative mind will take over. Your creative mind will give you more visions. You wouldn't have to think, you wouldn't have to cognitively sort of decide that. Other than that, if you're into vision boards, that gets you into a great emotional state, create them. It's not my thing. I'm a very visual person in my head. That works for me. Like, I can tap into a visual right away. You know, if I think in the last few years I've made a vision board just once, and yes, all of that got manifested, but at the same time I was also doing other processes which are incredible. They are fast, they make your life quite effortless, and we do that in our free sessions. So they're going to resume again. We're going to do a few sessions in our community, and that is going to hyper focus on getting you to know what you want, your true desires, and getting your emotional state and physical state to a point that that manifests itself in a way that you want it to manifest, right? No hustle. We don't like hustle. We love putting our work in. We love cleansing our inner world, but we don't love the whole drama of hustle. It's just waste of fucking life, right? If you want to be part of those sessions, they're absolutely free for now. You can find the link to our free WhatsApp. Oh, my chappal. If you want to be part of those free sessions, you can find the link to a free WhatsApp community in the description. So join the community, and it's in fact even open for you to ask questions. If you have any questions with respect to this topic or any topic, you can leave a comment in this video, or you can get in the community and ask over there. We have seriously incredible people, incredible creators there. And that reminds me that we are going to start a power group. Now, what is a power group? It's a group of 4 people that we're going to select based on our qualification process, and we're going to work, I'm going to work with them very closely in shifting their subconscious, for helping them letting go of these patterns that we've been living by. They're just so stuck in our subconscious. They come from a family, from generations, right? We're going to cleanse that so that we free you from all the junk that doesn't support your life expansion. They're going to manifest stuff, you know. We're getting real. It's not talk. I do not enjoy talk. I love experiencing life, and that's exactly what we're going to do in the program. If you're interested in that, you'll get more information in the community. And also you can eventually book a discovery call to check if you align with the program and if it qualifies you, right? I'm wishing a lot of strength for you, so that more than convincing your parents for your unconventional choices, you have the strength to own who you are and really take ownership of your life. Because when my friend passed away, I learned that we all are going to die one day, but also many people on this planet are living as if they're already dead, imagining that one day will come when they will start feeling alive and they will start living life the way their younger selves imagined life to be like. You're an adult. take charge of your life so that your younger self can be proud of you. And of course, on top of that, you live a sexy as fuck life now, not later, because life is happening right now.